I have a funny feeling that Starmer will live to regret this one. Hey up everyone and welcome to Political Nerds. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. Now of course, before I jump into this, the usual disclaimer: do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. So let's jump into it with Keir Starmer's letter right here that he released towards the end of last month. As far as I'm concerned, the government inquiry into the grooming gang scandal here in the UK is falling apart. And so here he says, "Dear all, I wanted to reach out directly to thank you for being part of the expert panel and supporting us to set up the national inquiry into grooming gangs." So this essentially is a letter to members of the victims panel that have left the inquiry for one reason or another. Now, I support those girls all day long, like 100%, without freaking question, right? Even more so when you read through Starmer's letter, it's absolutely freaking disgusting. Let me in particular point your direction to the second paragraph here. "The heinous crimes committed against you and many others by violent and depraved gangs were truly appalling. We know that in some areas these crimes were disproportionately committed by Asian men. And I assure you that the inquiry will look explicitly at that." This is an absolute slap in the face. He is going to live to regret writing this letter to him. Why? Because, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, listening to the women that have left the inquiry and their grievances about the inquiry, one of the main things that's come out of this is that the inquiry is trying to whitewash the whole thing. It's trying to be more nebulous instead of just focusing on the grooming gangs. It's trying to focus on the wider kind of issue of child abuse, with some of them even speaking out, turning around and saying that there was a culture in the inquiry of being discouraged from even pointing out that the grooming gangs are predominantly being led and committed by Pakistani Muslim men. And so for Starmer to characterise these monsters, right, of the grooming gangs as being predominantly Asian men, that is just proving even more so these courageous women right. That this national inquiry into grooming gangs by the government, it's not going to give us the answers at all that they and the public are seeking. It's not going to go where the public and the survivors, the victims, need it to go. They're, again, trying to whitewash it. They're trying to water this down even more. This is freaking insane. This is a slap in the face for every survivor, for every victim that is trying to fight for justice, that is trying to get the truth out there, that is trying to get this inquiry by the government on the right track to do what it needs to do. But when you've got the Prime Minister that can't even correctly characterise who these monsters predominantly are, and just saying, "oh, committed by Asian men," yeah, this is a huge slap in the face. And I got a feeling that Starmer is going to live to regret even writing that letter to the survivors and victims in the first place. Now, of course, reactions to the letter came in thick and fast. I'm going to show you some of the most prominent ones that I could find. Here we've got Elizabeth Harper, PHF, absolute freaking hero, saying, "Letter off Keir Starmer, no sign of doing the right thing, just the same old, making a mockery of survivors and saying things he always does. Action is needed, not half-hearted words." Yeah. And I would add to that, not half-hearted words, or not even words that is watering down What's really going on here? This isn't just being committed by Asian men. Asian men, that could mean anything. That could mean Pakistani, it could mean Bangladeshi, it could also mean Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Do you know what I mean? Even Russian. I mean, come on. Starmer's letter is a freaking joke, and it is a slap in the face. Here, we've got another hero, Eliane Reynolds, saying the Prime Minister thanked me for supporting his grooming gang inquiry. He didn't thank me for telling the truth. The truth is he lied, his minister lied, and now they want survivors to return to a process built on lies. She also then says the Prime Minister claimed that it was on Baroness Casey's advice that a judge had not been considered to lead the national inquiry. He was not truthful then, and he's not being truthful now. No, he's not. And again, he's trying to water it down, saying that this is all being committed predominantly by Asian men. This is freaking nuts. Here we've got Priti Patel saying, and I would agree with this, Starmer has abandoned these victims and survivors. He arrogantly boasts about his record as a lawyer, but this insensitive and insulting letter shows he can't be bothered to listen, engage, or fight for the rights and seek justice for these remarkable women. That, and that he can't even be bothered or doesn't have the balls to actually use the right words for this. Because again, thanks to Baroness Casey and all the information and data that's out there that we know of, grooming gangs are predominantly monsters of a Pakistani Muslim origin. But Starmer can't even use the right terminology, the right words to even describe the monsters of these grooming gangs. Let's put it this way, right? If you can't adequately describe the monsters of these grooming gangs, then how the hell are you actually going to tackle these monsters in the first place? In other words, if you cannot accurately describe your enemy, how are you supposed to beat them in the first place? To me, it's as simple as that. Now, let me leave you with another hero, Fiona Goddard, and her reaction to all of this, saying the following. So the Prime Minister was meant to be reaching out personally, and instead we got a shizzy-generated letter sent out to everyone, addressing not a single concern or issue. One that he's probably not even wrote. Clearly, us grooming gang victims aren't important enough for him to put a bit of time and effort in. That and the victims and survivors aren't important enough for Starmer to adequately describe who these monsters predominantly are. Again, it just proves these survivors and victims right even further. When some of them have turned around and said, we left the inquiry because there was pressure on us not to describe our monsters as Pakistani and Muslim. Well, when you've got Starmer even avoiding describing them as to what they really are predominantly, yeah. I believe the survivors and victims anyway, don't get me wrong, but Starmer's letter is just further proof that is his final nail in the coffin. And I got a feeling that Starmer will live to regret writing that letter in the first place. With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and unfortunately with the state of the UK at the moment, there's going to be more, then make sure you subscribe to join our YouTube channel here. If you're watching on X, and make sure you're following me at Steph Alternerd. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Do you think Starmer's letter is a slap in the face? What do you think to him characterising predominantly monsters of grooming gangs as Asian men? What do you guys think to that? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate all your faces. And until the next time, you guys, laters.